It's an honor to speak after Christian Pirsolu, my direct manager, of course, and I will introduce you today with a topic called Consolidated Material Supplies. Touching upon a couple of things mentioned today in the presentations previous by Mark Philippe and many other things among that the project is seeking for to remove a couple of concerns related to interoperability and to strive for quality railway system implementation. There are certain tools to apply. One of the tools is consolidation of the material supplies. So back in 2016, it was established that the project shall use opportunity to apply consolidated sourcing of the main components. Construction materials to ensure them for entire Rail Baltica railway line. Conditions to consolidate supplies of the key infrastructure materials were already established in a contracting scheme for Rail Baltica project, but with one condition: the feasibility of this approach has to be proven. Therefore, in the end of 2019, the feasibility study about the sourcing of the key components was delivered by TUV Sud in cooperation with the Technical University of Graz. The results of this study identified 8 components which are important to consolidate and procure in consolidated manner and centralized manner by the joint venture coordinator of Rail Baltica project, RB Rail. So these elements are rails, turnouts, sleepers, together with the fastening system and under sleeper pad, ballast, different cable isolation materials, fencing, noise walls, standardized precast elements. Of course, the study as well with the report informed on certain benefits and aim for such consolidated material supply approach, which is of course what was previously mentioned in previous presentations. The interoperability is basically one of the main aspects, but nevertheless the benefit from the economy of the scale as well is very important topic for the project implementation. Considering the volumes under the procurement for entire Rail Baltica project, that's no surprise that local conditions and local logistics solutions and producers are not entirely ready for such scale of manufacturing. Therefore, the procurements were as well split into different lots, pieces, so that to enable more suppliers to apply and get more economies of the scale as a benefit for this approach. Not only economy of scale is one of the aims, as well the aim is to avoid distortions in a market that prevent such situation where the involved parties of the construction of the railway line compete for the materials, compete between each other for the materials at the same manufacturers. As well, one of the key benefits is introduce planning for entire scope and facilitate as well environmental friendly products. Not only products themselves by the production, by the components, but as well including the impact from the logistics perspective. So the benefits, of course, these are quite obvious. It's reduction of the cost, it's a reduction of the operation costs, provide maintainability, and ensure standardization for railway line. So I will give brief just overview of the information from the procurements currently launched. Supply of rails, we see 200,000 tons of steel has to be delivered to this region. Consolidated supply of turnouts. You see the volumes on the screen currently. But more interesting in this is that how we packaged, and what Christian as well emphasized in previous presentation, that packaging is as well one of the key conditions for successful procurement implementation. So to open a market for different producers, different manufacturers, we have packaged certain materials in certain groups of the products. For instance, consolidated supply of turnouts, where under that is as well rail expansion joints and two types of the turnout systems, which are high speed and so-called conventional, are splitted separately, so manufacturers and suppliers may apply. As well, but the sleepers, for instance, we didn't split into certain lots. Sleepers are entire scope for the production, but that doesn't prevent manufacturers to cooperate and establish partnerships using the local facilities, manufacturing plants as well, and cooperate with an international market. Then on a ballast, considering the huge volume of the material has to be delivered, somewhere around 8 million tons, we have split it into 6 lots, depending on the delivery locations. These locations I will introduce in upcoming slides. And as regards to the cable isolation materials you see on screen, splitting is by the product group. So getting to the type of the procurement procedure and current status. So we have selected two-stage procurement procedure in accordance with the public procurement law of Latvia, which of course refers to the European procurement directives. So first stage we do is qualification, where we qualify set of suppliers which meets our requirements, and then they're invited to the bidding procedure. Before that, of course, we do a lot of activities in interaction with the market with regard to ensure transparency and as well to fit our requirements towards the market possibilities and situation. Therefore, we hold market consultations with the manufacturers, with the suppliers, and acquire information from them, and as well provide our perspective on that. And most of you most probably have participated in these consultations. Then, of course, important part of all the procurement process is second stage, where actually we ask to submit the bids, the calculations, estimates, the plans, the strategy, items required for us to establish that we will be in position to proceed with a feasible sourcing and supply chain establishment. So I can assure that we will not use only price criteria. Under that, we will use so-called MEET, the most economically advantageous tender principle. So many components will be involved in that assessment to compare the bids and choose the one which fits the most for the project, including environmental conditions, including logistics, and including readiness and commitment of the manufacturer / supplier to provide our necessary products. Then on a current status, we have launched 5 procurement exercises out of 8. Currently, you see the launch dates on the screen. Still opened are 2, and one of them is ballast. But those ones who are interested in the supplies of ballast, you have to be swift and quickly then if you are not yet applied for this procurement, because submission deadline is tomorrow. Therefore, the ones who has already introduced themselves with the regulations and process and procedures in the system to submit, these details will be as well provided by my colleague in a next presentation, Aiga, how to apply and and what are the specifics. But then as well, we have another opening. Yet it's scheduled for tomorrow, but I must inform you that please keep up to date with the information that we have and hold in our webpage, because sleepers procurement, which includes as well fastening system and undersleeper pads, you should expect changes in this deadline and follow up the documents, since there will be some amendments. Due to some challenges that we have experienced with this supply procurement, that is related to the appeal process, which is now certainly resolved, and yeah, check those ones who has applied for a newsletter of the procurements. You will get notified about what will be the submission deadlines and what are the main conditions and what are the changes to the procedure set. So having all this in mind, we have launched, and still yet there are 3 groups of the materials to be procured. And in future, these are scheduled for Q1 2022. These are noise walls, fences, and prefabricated concrete materials. I should mention the standardized so there are certain expectations from our as a client side, and as well from the supplier side. So what are the main expectations? Of course, for us as a constructing authority, it's very important that when we receive bids and documents, that there is a clarity in all the references that we seek for, and all the quality conditions that has been set forth. Therefore, please take care with the regulations, with the conditions. Demonstrate strong readiness and capacity and commitment as well to supply materials and provide your services, because these consolidated supply framework agreements will be not directly related only to and limited to the supply agreements that involved as many more activities that I will briefly introduce you in upcoming slides. If we speak about what you and what market most probably looks for from our side as a client, these most probably are more flexible contract conditions. Considering the market situation with the supplies and construction materials today and what we have experienced in the last 6 months, you see that situation may change tremendously over as well time period of these framework agreements. These are considerably long-term contracts. Therefore, the flexibility in the pricing model, flexibility in many other conditions will be implemented. I must say that currently information what I am providing you is the one where we're working on, where we're establishing the strategy, and we are still working on the conditions, continuously measuring the market, looking at fluctuations, and modeling what would be a future result outcome of our framework agreements. Then, of course, after that, and considering that we are procuring these materials already now, we consider the early manufacturer/supplier involvement to set up the planning, set up as well communication, manage the interface, and these interfaces will be many between us and the construction companies, so that we are clear on the risks, clear on the responsibilities in the process of the supply in the future when the contracts will be signed. Delivery and distribution. So this is as well very important item among all the rest, because this is a huge line considerably for the region, and the length is 800 kilometers, and how to make sure that supplies arrives at the certain destinations and are available to the construction companies in time. So we have foreseen that future infrastructure maintenance facilities shall serve as a material basis to deliver material to, and as well to use this area to establish some sort of a buffer stockpile, and with that approach to ensure that there is sufficient amount of materials available for the construction companies. But nevertheless, we're working on still on a framework contract, and the aim is to as well provide with the flexibility. So there will be not only one price requested from the supplier to be submitted, but the price mechanism will be established so that there is flexibility to be able to deliver and price delivery to the certain other locations, alternative locations as well for the needs of the construction contractors. Eventually, the free issuance principle of the materials will be established for the construction companies. So as well, same time, taking off some responsibility, I wouldn't say, but taking off some administrative work from the construction contractors. To make it all running, considering the complexity of this project, complexity of the consolidated material supply, and considering that there are many parties under the different contracts, and the phasing and the splitting of the construction sections provides a lot of interfaces. Therefore, we are looking for establishing the ordering system which would consolidate altogether all supplies and provide us with the possibility to establish planning so that manufacturers has availability of the information up front, implement a rolling forecast schedule based on the work execution plans given from the construction companies, and so that manufacturers can plan their resources, can plan as well their raw material supplies up front in future, and provide us with the possibility to manage supplies over time where we see fluctuations in the market, considering the neighbor country projects and demand of the material in the market, so that we can, with a possibility to plan up front and to book certain capacities from the manufacturer to reduce costs of the and prices of the material for our deliveries. As well, of course, it is related to the logistics. If we deliver to this region such volumes of the material, logistics comes as a question, and how to resolve this. Therefore, this planning ordering system shall enable us to consolidate as well logistic means, and with that assumption, it would give us as well benefit of implement more economic, more environmental, must say it's more related to environment, friendly supply solutions using more railway rather than roads, delivering more in bigger bulks, bigger scopes at the one time, not splitting these deliveries in small pieces. And when it comes down to the material basis, which will be established as a main initial delivery points, the aim is that these will serve as a buffer stock and place where the material will be ordered up front, so that reduce the risk of missing some materials during construction phase, yeah. So this moreover about the principles and assumptions that we have established as of now. Information about more detailed information about what was I speaking today, you can find our webpage under the procurement section. You will find the consolidated procurements. All the technical specifications are there. Main conditions are there. Check, and please stay updated with the future publishings and submission deadlines. Thank you on that.
Yeah, thank you, Mārtiņš.